a lot of weeks in the making. I literally had to chase this guy down because he's like super busy, but he's here today. He works in the fitness industry. He's a hell of a guy, a lot of like great energy. Why I invited this guy here, my guest today here for the interview. Honestly, I don't know much about him, and today's gonna be I'm gonna learn about you, man, because I literally don't know anything, just what I see on your social media. But what the things that I like that you're posting is like you have a great energy. You're very positive. I'm curious to know about your mindset because you always mention your mindset and how you overcame a lot of obstacles and challenges in your life, which is what this podcast is like. I explore the hero's journey, which is like the evolutionary path that everyone is on, and I'm curious about to know about like that part of your history. And something else that I've noticed that you got, and I don't see a lot around, and hopefully we'll unfold this during this conversation, is you are real. You are real human. You're real. I don't know if that makes sense, because I see a lot of people around that are just pretending to be who they're not, or just like putting on this facade. From what I see, you don't have it, and that's probably the main reason why I invited to my podcast, man. So I'm excited and welcome. And guys, this is Cody.
Awesome. Well, just I guess kind of quick intro to kind of where I'm at and kind of who I am. So currently, I met Maddie at a gym I go to. I love to go to these fancy places and hang out. And this guy's one hell of a salesman, so he talks to everybody. He's always got a great smile. He was always
Thanks, I
dressed
appreciate it.
well. So naturally I gravitated to his good energy, and I spend a lot of time in these fancy places because I'm a fitness professional, and I'm always trying to get surrounded by good people. Because like you said, keeping it real and whatnot. But I've been in the fitness industry now for about 18 years. I'm 29, so that means I got into it basically as like a preteen. Started frequenting gyms. Started building workouts on bodybuilding.com.
You're from Miami.
Yeah.
Let's
So
take a step back, man.
so
Yeah,
yeah,
you're
take
from
a step.
here.
Yeah. So
You're a native.
yeah. I guess I could take you back to kind of the whole intro of my life. I guess I could kind of lay it down like that. So born and raised here in South Florida. I'm a real deal Florida boy. I've never been to a strip club, and I've never gambled. I've never been to a casino. Mama said that's where the devil resides. So
I think
kind
your
of.
mama's right, bro.
Yeah. I got a little bit of that good old boy kind of in me. Where I grew up is no longer country, but it was at one point, and I hung out a lot, doing a lot of fun stuff.
Is it here in Dade County?
Yeah, Dade County. Yeah, out in what is now West Kendall, but was nothing when I was living there, especially as a kid. And so I grew up here in South Florida, fishing, shooting guns, playing sports outside, beaching. Very simple life. My parents were normal people. My mom was a nurse. My dad, he was a retired military, and
Oh,
he
wow.
just worked like maintenance his whole life. So just a very simple upbringing. I went to public school, nothing crazy.
What's your heritage, bro?
So I'm a mixture of Cuban and Puerto Rican, and that's actually a really funny blend because it was
It
like
is,
they took crazy and they put them in one person, and I'm like,
That
all right,
explains the energy,
That
bro.
explains a lot, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I got that Hispanic background, and that gave me my fire and my edge, and it taught me about very strong values, and kind of a lot of how to be a man and stuff. Although the culture's flawed, and you and I've had conversations.
I want to know more about this, but we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. But yeah, a lot of good things. I had a very simple upbringing. It taught me how to, I had to learn how to fix things. I never had the nicest shoes. Never had anything that was like super standout. But I never went without a warm meal, and I never didn't have a place to sleep. And my parents always provided for me. So I think I honestly had the best upbringing possible, because if I was born with money, I could have never known what it was like to have to do so much of what I had to do growing up and learn all the skills I had to learn. But now I have my own opportunity to create my own wealth and kind of live life on my terms, which is kind of where I'm at now, with the business and everything going on in my life. Is just,
You got siblings? Sorry, man. Are you?
No, yeah. So I actually have I have 3 older brothers.
Okay.
So they're all half brothers, and I'm the only one from my mom and my dad, both. So my mother had 2 from a previous marriage.
Got it.
And then my dad had 1 from a previous relationship.
Got it.
And they met each other in their late 30s, and they bought a house together, and they got married. My mom got pregnant. They had me at 38. My brothers were, I think one of them was like 15 or 16. The other one was like 10 and the other one was like 11.
Okay.
So, older than me. And so with 3 older brothers, I never went without love. My parents were always around. Like I said, it was a very
So it was a
loving
big family. Everyone
big
was
family. Family is number one for me. Family is, and that probably explains why I'm at where I'm at in my business. Is that family is the foundation for kind of like my good life. I don't want more if I can't share it with my loved ones. And so that's kind of what my entire life is
I
about.
love this, man. I love it.
Yeah, and it's crazy because we live in a world where like family values are just going out the window, and people are letting things get between them and their family. So it's a very tough thing, but I'm blessed, and I didn't always have a great relationship with my parents, but I do now, and I have a good relationship with all my brothers. I have a great relationship with my cousins, my aunt. So it's like I have immediately a lot of people that I can call upon.
Everyone is here in Miami.
Yeah, everybody's here in Miami. Like at least on my mother's side. My father's side is up in New Jersey, and we're not really as close, unfortunately. But that's just location makes it difficult. Also, again, I think culturally, like I live in I grew up in the South, kind of country-ish, kind of more conservative, and they're in New York, in the city, it's a little different, the kind of, how they live. So there was just a little factors that kind of got in between, me being close to them. And then unfortunately my grandmother passed, my great aunt passed. And so really I haven't been back in years or really even talked to them, unfortunately.
Got it.
But my family down here, what? We talk all the time, bro. It's number one.
You guys have holidays together, like
Oh, yeah.
Sundays,
Oh, yeah.
like Italy, like Italian families.
It was really cool back in the day when my grandparents were still around. They passed about 10 years ago. But growing up as a kid, we used to have Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's, July 4th. Everything was at least 30 people. At least 30 people. And everybody would bring food and drinks, and uncles are
like
drunk.
music and mass and kids screaming.
And kids screaming and running around and in the pool. And that was my upbringing. Like it was just a really good, close family. And we always had stuff together. And then, my grandparents passed away, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Even when my grandmother started to get, dementia, things kind of started to fall apart and people kind of started to go their separate ways. And unfortunately, a few of my uncles or an uncle of mine has passed away and some other family members. So it's like, the numbers are getting smaller, but hopefully, my generation, my brothers already have a couple kids. So we can continue to keep up these family values within their generation. But.
And that it's funny because, man, as I said, I didn't know anything about you, but the energy that you emanate is like you're very like solid and real individual. And this explains the fact that you have a solid foundation, your family. So everything makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was just blessed, man. I feel like people, the gravity cannot be expressed how important it is as a parent to like do a good job with your kids. Because I mean, my parents obviously made mistakes, but they were solid as hell. They told me they loved me. They prayed with me every night. Whoa. They were there for me when I needed them. When I was sick, my mom took care of me. Whenever I needed to know something, fix something, my dad was there. He was like, I always had guidance and someone to caretake for me. And granted, that has its pitfalls because I was very dependent early on in my late teens.
Okay.
I was still very dependent on them. And then I had tragedy happen, which we can go into later, and we can kind of stem off there. But it filled me up with enough to know that God loves me and that I have value that's intrinsic and no one could take away from me.
Wow, man, that's incredible.
And I need to try to use that understanding to spread it, like to spread that same message to everyone else.
Okay.
Right? Like my mission statement is to act as a conduit for energy for others so that they can live healthier, happier, more fulfilled lives. And I've been saying that since I was 19.
I love it, man.
It's been 10 years of that same motto, that same journey, that same purpose.
What something that it's very close to me, and I talk a lot about in my blog and in the podcast is the role of like having a healthy masculine role in a like young males.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you had your father. You mentioned was always like. How,
yeah.
Can you elaborate that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. So my dad is like my fucking superhero. Like I'm just gonna say it like that. Like I hope I can curse.
No, man, no. You can say whatever. The fact that you're already saying this, it gives me the idea that you have like a very healthy role over there, because not many people say that about their own father.
No,
so
my dad. My
say
dad.
That,
yeah,
man,
yeah.
It's already a lot.
Yeah. No, my dad is my superhero. Like for real. Like growing up, I just remember everybody like. Put it this way, my dad had me in his late 30s, and all I can remember is that all of his 40s, when I was in elementary school, all my friends were like, your dad is so strong, because he would come after work wearing a maintenance shirt, and he'd be wearing like shorts or something, and he had these monstrous legs and these big broad shoulders. Like my dad's a big dude. He's like, before he had his hips replaced and had, you know, all his back problems, he's 6'1", 230, like just solid man. And
Was
not
he
like
into
what you-
weightlifting?
Oh yeah, so that's kind of how I got into it, right? So my dad was military for 22 years. He served in the army, and then he did the reserve for, you know, the rest of his career.
Yeah.
And so physical activity was always a part of his lifestyle. He was a drill sergeant, so he was always exercising.
Wow,
and,
man.
yeah. So in my backyard, we had a pair of rusty ass weights, and I mean rusty ass weights. And
That explains a lot, bro. I mean,
Bro, I'm
the apple
telling you.
doesn't fall far from the tree.
No. Rusty weights in the backyard. I remember it was like one of these bench leg extension, leg curl combos. And it was just out there rusting with a rusty bar and rusty ass weights and rusty ass clips. And I mean, hey guys, when I say rusty, I mean caked on rust. Like people are like, oh my God, I can't work out. It's so hot.
Look at
I'm
this.
like,
No
bro,
AC, no
I
nothing.
was like 11 years old, fat, getting picked on, getting called fat ass. And I looked at my dad and I was like, Papi, yo no quiero esto más. Which in translation to English, I didn't want to do that shit anymore.
And what did he say?
And he didn't really say anything. He was like, all right, well, look, start lifting weights. He's like, I'll show you. And so basically, my dad was always lifting weights, always in the backyard doing something, staying active. He'd take me to the park. You know, as a younger kid, before I started lifting weights, we'd go to the park. I'd ride my bike, and he'd run alongside me.
Was he like, because you said he was a surgeon, was he like strict and rigid, like discipline and this and that? Or it
You
sounds
know-
like he was a little bit more like mellow and...
Funny enough, I got the softer side of him, right? My brother's got the hard side of him.
Oh.
Because as a baby, they were teenagers and they wore him down. Like he would beat the absolute crap out of them if they stepped out of line. And he was just a strong male figure. And two of them weren't his kids, and they were troublemakers. Two of my brothers, they're real bad, and you know they dragged the third one in. So you know everybody got their ass whooped. It was ass whooping galore. But I think he was ass whooped out by the time I got to age, because I remember like this one time, like this, it was super funny. Like this one time, I had like an F or something on my report card, and I remember I put it down on the counter and like ran, and he came after me with like the belt, and like I fell to the floor. I was like, no, and he hit me like once or twice, and then he just like stood over me and looked at me, and he like walked away, and he never ever like hit me again, and then I was like, dude, like you never hit me again, and he like looked at me and he was like, I was just like standing over you, looking at your little face, and I'm like,
Can't do it.
I can't do this, bro. And I'm like, oh,
Thank
I
God.
got the softy, bro. I got the softy. You know? So
10 years prior, man, you
yeah, I would have got my ass cooked, bro. But yeah, man, he was very strong, but with me he was very understanding and very flexible. I mean, through my teenage years, you know, I remember I would go out to parties at 14, 15 years old, drinking and doing all sorts of crazy stuff, exploring tobacco and nicotine amongst all other myriad of things. And dude, he would pick me up and wouldn't judge me. Wouldn't say, hey, you smell like this, or hey, you pick me up. How do you feel? You okay? Everything went fine? He's like, remember, you can always call me if you ever need anything. And this would be at like 2 a.m, bro. I'd pay like, and I'm like a 15-year-old, and what he did was he wanted me to go and see the world and be a man. But he was there for me no matter what. Like I would get home worried if I had a friend drop me off. Brother, this guy didn't sleep. He would not sleep until I got home. And he, you know, as soon as I opened that front door, I had like the same routine. Obviously, I've been drinking. I'm a teenager. I'm trying to hide it. So I like run and
He
go
knew
to-
everything already.
Yeah, but I go and turn on the shower, and like as I'm getting in the shower and stuff, he'd peek around the corner and be like, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm good, Dad. I'm
No
good."
matter if it was like 3 a.m.
Bro,
4
fucking
a.m.
3 a.m. doesn't matter. He
guy
was,
was
no,
there,
he
man.
was there. He was like, hey, you know, how you doing? I'm good, Bobby. He's like, all right, I'm gonna go to sleep now. Good night. Just go off and never ask any questions.
He
Never
wanted to
judge
make
me.
sure everything was cool.
Yeah, he was always there for me. I mean, I made a lot of mistakes. I was crazy as a teenager. Had a couple accidents, like hit and runs, and I was like, fuck that. And he was like, listen, you're everything's okay. Nobody's hurt. All right, you're fine. He's like, don't ever do that shit again. But it wasn't like, I mean, I got into so much fucking trouble, and it was always like, it's okay. Like you're gonna fucking pay. You're gonna pay the price.
Yeah.
Like it's never like, oh no, I'm gonna get lawyers and we're gonna no. It was like,
You fucked up,
you
bro,
fucked
now.
up. Whatever happens from this is on you.
Uh-huh.
But I'm in your corner and I support you.
Whoa.
You know, like and that was
That's
powerful
beautiful.
for me because you know now I have like a pretty decent sense of security going out in the world. I'm like, well, fuck it. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You know, go to jail or die. All right, well, let's go live our lives and kind of see what happens. So my dad did a really, really good job of kind of showing me how to be strong, yet flexible. And he was just a really good model for how to be a handy, very capable, resourceful, very giving, caring, kind, but strong person. Like if I can give my dad a saying, not so much anymore because he's almost 70, but like for the most of his life, it was like he was literally the saying, walk light but carry a big stick. Like he would literally be like, I don't want to start nothing, but I will fuck you up if I have to. Like that was just his overall. Like he was just like no problem. He started no problems, but he would finish anything that came between him and between you and his family. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, he was very peaceful, but also capable of a lot of violence. And he was very strong. He showed me how to protect myself at a young age. He showed me how to use my hands, how to fight. You know, and so, you know, all these lessons, man, they're not being taught to young guys because dads are absent or they're caught up in work or they don't think it's important to be physically capable and be strong and be dangerous. But I also think we live in and this is like a manosphere term, we live in a gynocentric society.
What's that?
So the idea, I guess, from the whole premise of this is that we live in a society that's been polluted by toxic femininity.
Okay.
Where the idea that just being a man is inherently wrong because you can produce danger and you can hurt others, and because you have aggression or have a the capacity for aggression that you're bad, and that having and being sexual is bad, and having like all these judgments that are like sewn into us because it's like taught from a young age, especially like in a Hispanic household. My mom was always like, I maybe would have 2 or 3 girlfriends at a time, and she would be like, no haga eso, don't do that. You're gonna hurt those girls' hearts. How could you? And it was always like, Mom, these are grown-ass women. They know what they're doing. But it was like, the idea was, no, you can't be a man. You can't be this. You can't do that. Like, it's just, there's so much like judgment around just being a man and having, these physical wants and desires, right? Don't be a fucking weirdo, right? Don't be excessively using pornography and fucking looking at child shit and ogling and crushing over women you don't know, right? That's just weird shit. If you get no pussy, I'm sorry, that's a big word, but if you get no play, 1000%, the only thing you need to do is get in shape and make money. You can be ugly as sin. You're in shape and you make money, papa. You can do whatever you want. And on top of that, I will also say start to learn about your own beta habits. Learn how to maintain a frame with a woman, because that way you can be more alpha, right? You can assert yourself more. You can control things more. So it's not like a woman comes in and sees your ability to provide provision and protection and goes, oh, I'm going to just latch onto this guy and then suck him dry. It's like, no, we're working our frame. I'm controlling this, and the idea being like, as a male, you need to increase your value as much as possible because that's what women look at. And a woman really needs to be as beautiful as possible because that's what men look at. And it's a very simple dynamic. But from the male standpoint, men need to be, in my opinion, strong, intelligent, financially responsible, financially intelligent. They need to be literate. They need to be able to speak, to communicate with others. They need to have a certain level of emotional understanding. It doesn't mean they need to be soft by any means, but they need to be able to process things. Instead of engaging in excessive drinking and drugs and sex, which is what tons of men do, they need to be able to face themselves in the mirror and be like, holy shit, I'm a fat, lazy, alcoholic slob, and I should probably change this. Because,
why are we having these conversations nowadays and like 20 years ago? No, what has changed?
It wasn't 20 years ago. It was like 60, 70 years ago where things started changing. When they started taking, rigorous exercise programs out of school. When they started preaching the toxic femininity. It's when they introduced birth control, right? Because he gave so much power to women to control their own thing. Now the man has no power. If a woman wants to, she could be with you, marry you, never have your kid, leave your ass and take what she wants, right? Like there's just, the power dynamics have shifted so dramatically. And we're in a world where, a woman can have 1 million followers on Instagram and really not be all that beautiful. Whereas a man has to go out and become a millionaire and provide and do all these things in order to be able to get to that level of marketplace value. So I just think that there's so many dynamics that are constantly changing, and there's not enough people looking at what worked traditionally and just going, let me apply that in a modern context.
Exactly. Can we apply that to today's world?
Hell yeah.
Is that gonna work?
Hell yeah, absolutely. All we need to do is apply what used to work in the modern context. You should be able to learn how to grow your own food. You should understand the basics of electricity and wiring. You should understand the basics of plumbing and irrigation. You should just very basic understandings of mechanical things.
What about like in a relationship, in a couple? Like, do you think women should have their own money, be independent, work, and
You're trying to get me in trouble here. All right, so
no, man. I mean, this is your opinion.
Yeah. So the way I see it is, women have choices. Okay, so There was this concept that was introduced to me through a book, and I shared the book with you. It's called The Value of Others. And it introduced this concept of captainship and passengers, right? And so a captain, in order to become a captain, has to first, kind of learn the ocean, learn maritime law, learn how everything works. Then they have to build their ship, and then they have to learn how to sail their ship, and they have to become proficient. And all these things take time. And traditionally, captains were males. And males would create their ships, and the females were passengers. And so when the captains were out of the dock, they have their boat, they have their everything for sale, and they can go out in them, they can go to the dock and they can bid on passengers. Hey, they try to get their attention of passengers that they see that they like, right? And those passengers then have to assert onto themselves, what is it that I'm looking for? Is this a trustworthy captain? Is he going to get me to where I want to go? And we have to have that alignment. Yeah, direction and purpose, right? You have to have that alignment of captain-passenger relationship where you guys are both kind of on the same page in terms of the cost of the journey, the destination, the overall goal, the way things are going to work, right? There has to be this mutual understanding.
I mean, man, the captain cannot exist without the passenger, and the passenger cannot exist without the captain, so they both need each other.
Sure,
but
absolutely.
There's different roles.
I would say that the passenger needs the captain more. And so, with that said, there's a saying that I think is super interesting, and this would kind of play into these dynamics. Is it's in a woman's best interest to act. It's in a man's best interest to wait, because a woman's fertility and her value, her beauty, will over time wane. While meanwhile, a man's main value, really historically, has been provision and protection. Therefore, his value goes up over time. So it's in a woman's best interest to act. It's in a man's best interest to wait. So a man, the more bigger his ship, the nicer his ship, the better a captain, the better a passenger he can secure. And this is what's really happening, because to go back to the original question, you asked me, do I think that women should have money, have all this and that? I think women should have whatever they want in life. But as with anything, there's pros and cons. So if a woman wants to become a captain, be able to provide provision and protection for herself, she is now facing the dilemma of, if I'm a captain, if I took the time, effort, years to build my ship, why am I going to come off my ship to go onto some other ship? Right? And therefore, the woman is now left with a dilemma. Either they have to have an extraordinarily impressive ship, or she has to be willing to go down and be on somebody else's ship and submit and give up her own resources.
Or she finds a man that is willing to be a passenger, but that's going to create a lot
What woman do you know is saying, I want to finance a man, I want a stay-at-home husband? Barely any, if any. And at the end of the day, they're probably not going to sleep with him because it's a beta male. And that's really the problem now, is we have women that are becoming captains, and they're becoming the alphas. And then the males are just tagging along. And maybe that male has figured out a way to make money. And so he can provide a little bit of that same thing. So maybe he can get in with that woman, right? Maybe he can get in with that alpha woman. But he's not enough to keep her interested. So the whole while she's going, I have my boat sitting there at the dock. I'm on his boat for now, but if I need to, I got my dinghy there. I can just hop off and ride off into the sunset. And so there's so many dynamics at play that are constantly changing. But if a woman wants to be powerful and dominant, she just needs to understand that typically she's going to want a man who's typically more powerful and more dominant. So the more powerful and dominant a woman becomes, the more powerful and dominant a male she's going to need. You understand?
But if you see it from the other perspective, what type of man wants a woman like that?
I don't. And not that I don't want a woman who's extraordinarily powerful, because that's fine. But and this could be misogyny, whatever you want. I don't feel exactly comfortable if she is surpassing me monetarily. She's way hotter than me. I'm gonna feel like the dynamic is not in balance. I feel like I'm getting more than she's getting. And if you ever look at business deals that are more one-sided, they always tend to fall apart. And so I think a reciprocal balance of value is very important, right? I think I need to have enough worth, enough value, enough physical attractiveness, my own ingredients. I need to have enough of a nice cake for that woman to buy into it. But she's got to have enough value for me to buy into her, right? Because she's trying to secure commitment. I'm trying to secure a woman who's going to give me sex, a baby, whatever, right? And so that's my trade-off. But again, I think again, this is maybe because I'm not a billionaire, but I couldn't fathom having a woman so much more successful than me, her still being interested in me. I just couldn't fathom it. Maybe it doesn't make sense if you're $100 million and she makes $1 billion. Like if you were Kylie Jenner and her boyfriend, where they're both super fucking rich anyways, maybe it doesn't matter at that level. But I feel like for your average person, Like the woman wants to kind of feel taken care of. She kind of wants to feel like the man steps up more, and he kind of does. At least that's what I hear from the women that I like, right? And so I think I should preface this with like, I live in my own bubble. I literally will throw women out of the way. If I hear you say how self-interested you are, if I hear you talk about your very liberal, open, progressive belief systems, I'm automatically kind of
It
like,
doesn't align with your values.
no. It doesn't matter how hot they are. I'm like, ooh,
It
you're a
makes sense,
headache, and I kind of move on. So like I exist within my own stratosphere. So this is applicable to those kinds of women, right? I think women can make whatever choice they want. At the end of the day, these women are allowed to be and do whatever they want because they're human beings, same as any other male. And if they're trans or whatever the hell they want to be, good for them. I don't really give a shit. It really doesn't matter to me. Live your life how you want. I'm going to tell you how I'm going to live my life, and I'm going to tell you the kind of women I like, and I'm going to tell you my belief system and how I'm going to raise my kids. And anybody's allowed to disagree with me.
I mean, man, at the end of the day, you have your own vision, you have your own values. That's what you desire for your own life.
You
And
got it.
well, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
And people always want to have, want to try to tell you how to like cut your own grass. I've looked at your grass. You got weeds and you ain't cut your shit in months. You're trying to point fingers.
I mean,
and
man,
tell
if
me-
you believe in that and that's your beliefs, I respect it because that's your whole dimension.
It is, and you know what? I always leave myself open to sound like an ass. Like everything I said in 10 years, I might be like, man, what an asshole I was. What an insensitive person.
That's the evolution.
I don't think so. But the way I see it is, I always leave myself open to change. I always leave myself open to new ideas and new thought processes, and I try to be a very fair person. So, I really think that with that in mind, I sleep with no problems. I serve people all day. And so if I'm wrong and if I say something that offends somebody, if people disagree with me, at the end of the day, I really don't give a shit because there's nothing I can do about it. They woke up and chose to judge me that day. But at the end of the day, the only person that's going to be able to judge me is my creator. And so when I meet him, then it'll matter. For now, say what you want, do what you want. Try to cancel me. It's okay. I got a bunch of really solid clients who love me, a bunch of people that I pour into and they pour into me. And, I don't really care what a lot of other people think. I got my close circle of 50 to 100 people. And beyond that, whatever.
Let's transition into that, man, because you mentioned clients. So you're a personal trainer. You work in fitness. And I assume you started because of your father. It got you into working out early, and then
Yeah.
I assume you got passionate about that. And what happened after that?
So I think it really all started when I was 11. I was a really overweight little 11-year-old. I was about 150 pounds. I'm 5 foot, so I was kind of like a butterball. That was the nickname I had, and kids made fun of me, and they would call me fat ass.
Bullied and all that shit.
Yeah, I just get bullied a little bit. So, it kind of didn't sit well with me, and so it kind of pissed me off. And so, from about 11 to 12 years old, I kind of starved myself and started doing push-ups and sit-ups every night, 200 push-ups, 200 sit-ups every night for a year. Maybe less, maybe 6 months. And then I got into weights in my backyard, and then I went from being fat ass at 11 to being steroids at 13. Because I started taking creatine and stuff, and I was telling kids oh, here's supplements I take, and they're like, oh, you're taking steroids. I'm like, whatever, bro.
They thought you were taking steroids.
Yeah, because it was just young kids. Kids are all stupid. They want to bully you for anything. It's just they're reaching. It's all about
of course, man.
it's all about how you're raised. Growing up as a kid, I never made fun of people. In fact, I always stood in front of bullies. And I never fit in because I was always like, this guy's talking shit about that guy that they just said they're their best friend. Anyways, that's a whole separate conversation. But to kind of get back to it, I just, started working out in my backyard. My dad showed me a few things, and I started doing them and getting stronger. And by 14, I was playing basketball on the block with kids, and they were like, hey, I want to work out with you. You look good. And I was like, all right. So, at 14, I was already taking kids into the backyard, showing them how to do rows and triceps.
You were like personal trainer of teenagers.
Yeah, not even. We were kids. Some of them were 7, and some of them were 10 and 12, and one was 14. I mean, it's a bunch of kids on the block eating shit, And so we go to my backyard and we pump out those rusty weights, and hopefully nobody killed themselves, and we did that, and it was a good time, and
I like this. This could be...
I liked it, and I started working out, and I was working out every day, and I started seeing results, and people started seeing results, and I started playing football, and I swam, and I wrestled.
Was there a moment that started impacting your psyche, your mindset, and you started gaining confidence, and you were like, oh, this shit is not just about physical appearance. It's changing the way that I feel about myself.
Yeah, I would say that probably solidified later on, in my 20s. Because I always had more of an ego than confidence, right? I was kind of as a teenager, I was like, yeah, fuck you, I'm jacked, stupid, kind of just aggressive. And I kind of rode that wave of aggression and anger until I was 19. And then I kind of found a bunch of other stuff. It kind of changed my life a little bit. But man, I don't know. I saw the changes really as an adult, right? Like I was just like, because the thing is as a teenager, everybody works out and is in shape. But once you become an adult, everybody gets fat and just look like crap. And I was like always ahead of the game. And so I just turned it into a career. At 18, I got my first personal training certification, and I was working at a smoothie shop. I loved it. I would talk to everybody, and I would tell them about my dreams. I want to own gyms. I want to do this and that.
Oh wow.
And a guy there, a client of the smoothie shop, came by and he talked to me and he was like, "Hey man, you're a personal trainer. Do you want a job?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was the manager for an Orange Theory. And I was like, "Yes, absolutely." So I went and I auditioned and I failed. And then I went back and I auditioned again and I failed again.
No.
Yeah, and then I finally auditioned and passed. And then the studio that I was going to start working at wasn't built until like 8 months after that. And so I basically was sitting on my thumbs working at this smoothie place. And I guess this is probably a good time to kind of segue into like what happened with my life in that period of time. So as I'm transitioning into my dream job and everything's gonna, start to go into a good place for me, my mom gets super sick. So my mom has always had issues with her health, but it reached a climax on Father's Day of like when I was 19. It was Father's Day. It's like 9 a.m. Wake up. She's like, "Hey, I don't feel good. Can you make your dad breakfast?" No problem. Make my dad breakfast. Hanging out with him. She's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna stay in bed." Okay, cool. So she stays in bed. And whatever. Day goes by. I'm like, "Hey, we're going out to dinner." "Oh, I still don't feel good." "All right, no problem. We're gonna go have dinner." Go have dinner. We come back. She's still crawled up in ball. Everything's dark. We're like, "Oh, uh-oh." So we go in there. We're like, "Hey, how you feeling?" She's like, "It's not good." We're like, "All right, we're gonna go to the hospital. Let's just, go get you checked out." So we go to the hospital, and she's in pain. So they put her on some pain meds, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm starting to feel better." I had to work in the morning, so I'm like, "Oh, you know what, Mom? You're looking good. All right, see you later."
Okay.
I gotta monitor her. So I go, fall asleep, whatever. I wake up the next day, around like 6 a.m. My dad calls me. Hey, keep your phone on you, cause your mom's dying." What? My mom's dying. I mean, I left her last night. She was fine. He's like, "No." At around 3 a.m., she started having seizures and convulsions, and it's not looking good. It's not looking good. I was like, "What the hell is going on here?" So, get ready. I go off to work and do my thing. I'm like, "Dude, I don't know what's going on." Like, I tell everybody, I'm like, "Hey, guys, I might have to just leave." Like, they're like, "Oh, no problem, bro. Whatever you need and whatever." And like 1 p.m., my dad calls me. He's like, "Hey, that's it. You need to come to the hospital now." I'm like, "All right, there we go." So, hop in the car, and I remember this moment like super distinctly. I'm sitting here at the light, like just outside of my job, and I'm like trying to rush to get to the hospital, and the light is red, and the traffic is just passing. And I just remember the whole world moving around me. Meanwhile, my entire world is like falling apart. And that was like such a big lesson. I was just like, the world will always move on. It's insignificant in the scheme of things. Your whole life is almost insignificant in the scheme of things. I'm sitting there just watching. Boom, light turns green. Haul ass. I finally get to the hospital. Park, whatever, I run upstairs. She's in the ICU at this point. So, ICU 10, I go in, I run in, and I see her in the bed sitting up staring at the wall. She's like green. And she's gripping the edge of the bed, and she's like, she's like, the pain. She's not looking at anybody. She's staring at the wall, like she's repeating over and over again, the pain. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And they're like, "Hey guys, you need to go. You guys need to get out. So we go out to the waiting room, and bro, I don't know how many, not more than 10 minutes could have passed. And over the loudspeaker, bling, bling, code blue, ICU 10. My mom's unit. We run in there. As we're running in, every doctor, every nurse, everybody on the floor, straight to that room. Everybody. The regional director of nursing for Baptist Kendall was sitting there giving her compressions. And 15 minutes without a heartbeat. Code blue for 15 minutes. And then the blue light went off. And it just meant one of two things. Either she's dead or her heart started again. And I think at this point they sedated her. They put her in a medically induced coma so that she would be able to stay dormant. They had no idea what kind of brain damage she experienced during the 15 minutes without her heart. Her lungs failed, kidneys failed, liver failure. I mean, everything. All major organs failure. She's still bleeding out, right? Because at this point they could see her abdominal swelling. And so she's got internal bleeding somewhere. She's in a medically induced coma, and now it's all on us. Hey guys, what do you want to do? And there was a doctor that was obviously seeing her abdomen swell, and he said, "We got to cut her open. We got to gut her. We got to find out where she's bleeding. We got to try to close the wound." And we're all trying to put that off because everybody's trying to put that off, really, because that's almost certain death. The shift change comes, and the doctor comes on at 7 p.m. or something like that, and he's like, "Hey man, we're not cutting her open. We're gonna stabilize this lady, and we're gonna put her in a fucking ambulance, and we're gonna take her to our main hospital because they have way more equipment. They have the ability to handle this better. We need to stabilize her and get her there." 3 in the morning is when they stabilize her. They rush her over there. They do they do a CAT scan with contrast. They find the bleeding is coming from the liver. It's an aneurysm, burst. They go into the leg. They close it. Blood pressure stabilizes. A few hours later, blood pressure starts crashing again. Vitals fall. A second bleed. Another aneurysm. They go on and they close it up again. At this point, she's had 2 massive blood transfusions. So basically means she has no more of her own blood is flowing through her veins. It's all somebody else's blood that was pumped into her. And she's in a coma. And she's intubated. Everything. Kidneys, everything. Everything is nothing. None of her organs are doing anything. She's fully on life support. And doctors are saying, hey, it's not looking good. Everything is gonna, she might not make it. She's probably not gonna make it, guys. In one of these moments, one of these crazy nights of her being in a coma, my dad just looks at me and he's like, "Hey, can I talk to you? What's up?" He's like, "If your mom dies, I'm selling my house. I'm taking the money, and I'm leaving Miami. I'm going to New Jersey, and you need to figure it out." So it was kind of like in that moment I was looking at losing everything, And granted, I was 19, so I was ready to grow man, but I was making like 12 grand a year, working like an animal, and just it wasn't sustainable for a man. And that conversation was like turning point, like something just changed, and just the level of responsibility and accountability I took over my life, like in those moments, was like uncanny. I would spend every night with my mom. Everybody would leave. I'd show up at midnight, and I would stay the night, and I'd sleep there in that hospital chair every night until she woke up 4 weeks later. And she couldn't breathe. She was on dialysis. Obviously, her liver ruptured. She was fucked up, man. And it was tons of rehab and dialysis and just trying to get her going. And luckily, her kidneys kicked back on. And with some of the exercise, she was able to start breathing without being intubated, and was able to get on, on a pure oxygen to help her breathe. And she stayed there for about 2 more weeks, and then she was like, "If I'm gonna die, I'm not gonna die here. I'm gonna die at home, comfy." And so she signed herself out on my 20th birthday and came home. And she came home on oxygen, like you said, like I told you, ready to die, but, hopeful. And, luckily here we are coming up on my 30th birthday and her 10-year anniversary of, getting out of hospital. And, that period of time in my life was the most transformational, most biggest piece of adversity I had ever encountered. I started paying the mortgage for the house. I worked construction for a few months just to make more money. You know, I was working 60-hour weeks, 70-hour weeks, 80-hour, like I was just whatever the fuck I could to just help pay the bills and help out. And then my dream job, Orange Theory, was there. And it just kept getting prolonged, and I had to quit the smoothie job because I couldn't, I was ready for Orange Theory, and then if the Orange Theory didn't come, and it was like, fuck, I gotta go work construction, I gotta make money, I gotta pay these bills. And I worked my ass off, and within a few months of working at construction, they suited me up, they gave me all sorts of shit because I came out there ready to bust my fucking ass. And they suited me up and they taught me, and I learned so much. But then Orange Theory came around, and it was time to make a decision. Was I gonna choose a safe route? Work construction, work my way up, long weeks, stable job, good paycheck, benefits, or was I going to trace my dreams and go and become a group fitness instructor? It was not an easy decision, but I kind of had to, just choose my dreams because, what the fuck else? What else am I going to do? And so I went and worked Orange Theory, and my mom was sick, and like I said, I was paying bills, and I remember having a conversation, my mom was like, it's not enough. You're not making enough. And I started asking for everything. I asked for everything. Kids, if you want to know how to get ahead, ask for everything. Any fucking work, anything. Ask for everything and anything that your employer can give you. Oh, you want to scrub the toilets for an extra $5 an hour? Scrub the fucking toilets. And you want to work overtime because nobody else does? Or your client, your coworker called in drunk and you can't. Bro, pick up the shift. Like, I did everything I could to get more and more classes. At one point, I was coaching 32 to 35 hours a week, group coaching, seeing an average of 25 to 35 people every class. I was working harder than anybody I knew. I was outperforming everybody. I had utilization of 120% across the fucking board. I was a monster. I was a phenom in the group fitness space. I was a monster there, and it took its toll. I was getting by, overdosing on caffeine and drinking cough syrup in between classes so that I can keep screaming. And as you can hear, my voice is pretty jacked up. And bro, I worked hard, bro. I mean, I worked insanely hard. And I had a lot of fun too. There was tons of chicks around always, and there was always beautiful women throwing themselves out. So it was a great time, really, really fun.
But the motivator was always you needed to provide. You felt like you needed to provide and support.
Nah, the thing is once I realized it was all on me, I always blame my parents for not having the shit that I wanted in my life. At 19, when everything fell apart, I made the decision that everything that I wanted in my life was going to be because I gave it to my fucking self. I wasn't going to wait on anybody to give me anything anymore. I was going to go do and get what the fuck I wanted, how I wanted, when I wanted, with who I wanted, and it didn't matter why I wanted it. And just start to live life on my own terms. And I took a supreme level of accountability. And I started reading books and listening to podcasts and trying to get around people and going to conferences and joining networking groups. And I started doing all the things that all these young millionaires do, right? I just started doing all of that. And
was it a progression, or it was like a moment that you realized, okay, I'm going to go all in now. I'm going to put all myself into this?
Yes and no, both, right? It was like I flicked a switch. But as you get better, it gets easier. And then you choose to go harder, or you could choose to stagnate. And I never chose to stagnate, and I still don't choose to stagnate. So as I get better, I go fucking harder. And as I get better, I go fucking harder. And then you just start to do more complex, bigger problems. Your mind stretches and things just start to change, right? You start off not even being able to file your quarterly reports and manage payroll and manage a book of 10 clients. And then you end up with fucking 40 clients, managing a multi-six-figure business. And you're like, oh, well, it is what it is. But it doesn't start off there. You progressively get better and smarter, and you build, and everything is progressive. But like I said, as you get better, it gets better, and you just got to keep elevating. You can't ever stagnate. The second you stagnate is the second you start dying. And so I made that decision at 19, and I haven't looked back. And I've kind of just always explored, what my heart called me, and like I told you, I chose my dream job. And I started chasing it, and I started working hard. And
what do you like about it, man? Why is it your dream job?
I was getting paid to work out and hang out with hot chicks. That was like my dream.
It's pretty cool. Huh?
What the hell else do you want as a 20-year-old?
Yeah.
And on top of that, I was making 50, 60 grand a year, dude. I was grand. Like I told you, I was killing myself. But dude, I was taking trips to Mexico with chicks. I was doing all sorts of, whatever I wanted. Whatever I wanted. I had the money at 60. Look, 60 grand, at 20 years old, This was what, 2016, 2017? Brother, that was good money. I felt like a millionaire. I felt so successful. And I had so much fun, man. And then, 2020 came around and that kind of ruined business for everybody. And I also had simultaneously had like a life altering injury. I ripped my pec off the shoulder and I kind of had to change my approach on things. And
What happened?
I wasn't sleeping at night between the coaching tons of classes and hanging out with girls at night and not sleeping and then going to, napping during the day and working out 6 hours a day and then CrossFit and powerlifting. And, you can only do so much and take so much. So at 25, my body decided to give out after about 5-6 years of going super ham. And it was good. It was another life altering moment for me. Again, another moment of adversity that kind of was a catalyst for a big change. People look, when shit happens to you, you can choose, is it, am I going to grow through this or am I just going to go through this? And I grow through everything. So, I took that as a moment of growth. And, as I was recovering from this injury, I went and I poured 13,000 pounds of concrete. I laid a 10.5-foot wide by 30-foot long, 6-inch deep slab of concrete in my parents' side yard. But first I had to clear the side yard, so that was a whole other mission of itself. I had to get rid of tons of garbage, get rid of a shed that was there. I fucking was crippled, still busting my ass. And what I did was I built a gym on the side of my parents' house. And I started training everybody and anybody who
You built it yourself?
Yeah, I built it myself. So in my early 20s, I tried to start a gym. And I rented a warehouse and I secured a lease, right? And I got a bunch of equipment and flooring and I put it all together.
So from the get-go, you had this vision. You want to work in a gym, you want to own a gym, you want to be in fitness, you want to be that guy.
Yeah, that was always what I wanted. What I thought that I would do is by 25 be a multimillionaire with 1,000 locations, and I thought I'd be fucking killing it. And life has got a funny way of shaking up your life. Man make plans, God laughs. So
Wow.
So that
That's
kind of
awesome.
that's kind of how I went in my early 20s. Was like failure after failure after failure, and then in 25 I hurt myself after my most recent failure and of hurting myself and not being able to make money because of COVID and everything was closed. And I figured, what the fuck am I gonna do? Poured concrete, put the flooring that I had in the gym left over, put the equipment I had left over that I hadn't sold, and started a little business on the side of my parents' house, training anybody and everybody who had ever talked to me about personal training. And then I remember one day, once we opened back up after COVID, one day I was just coaching a class and I had a lady approach me and she asked me if I would go and train her husband at home. I said, sure.
You were still working at Orange Theory?
Yeah, I was still working at Orange Theory and I was training like 2 or 3 people
On the side
of my house. Yeah.
Got it.
And she was like, oh, do you have equipment? And I was like, yeah. And I had my pickup truck, as you saw, that I pulled up. I got an old pickup truck and took my equipment, threw it in the back of the truck, put that shit in drive, drove over to the house. Turned out it was not just a dad, it was a dad and 3 boys. And that was my first high ticket client. I pulled up to this beautiful, like 5,000-6,000 square foot home on an acre, beautifully manicured with a guest home in the back and a gym. And, went out there and I sold my first $120 a session, client. I was like, I can charge $1,000 a month. Wow, this is big. And then, after that, I figured I had something, and then their best friend called me, and then another person picked up, and then their family, and then another person and their family, and then the neighbor, and then this and that, and so, after about 5 years now, I've got 11 paying clients, 33 clients in total on the roster, and it's all been through just sheer doing the right thing and providing the best service and being able to go above and beyond. And I think there's something to be said for showing up every day. I have clients that I shown up every day at 5 a.m. without question. I missed once in 3 years. Once, because I fell asleep on my phone and it was under my pillow and I couldn't hear it. Like literally once.
Let me ask you something, man, like relate to this, because you, from like what you're telling me, like it gives me the impression that you're not one of those guys that has fear of failure and you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna take the risk, I'm not sure, I'm gonna think about it. You just fucking go.
Honestly, I wish that was the case more often than not, right? I'm actually a very conservative, very timid human being, right? Like physically in the world, like I got no fucking fear. I'm not afraid of a person. I'm not afraid of a situation. But like in the scheme of life, I take everything very seriously. So I'm a very calculated individual, sometimes to my own detriment because I take too long to make moves. But I will give you one thing. When I create familiarity, and I have a fondness of taking my time creating familiarity. So sometimes it takes longer than other people. Like I said, I'm slightly timid. But once I create familiarity, I'll just fucking do it over and over again until I die. You know what I'm saying? Like, people adopt good habits and then stop them. I adopt good habits and never fucking change. Never fucking change. Ever. That's the recipe for success. Find good habits, start doing them, and never stop. Simple fucking formula for success. And the quicker you can become aware of your bad habits and change them, is the quicker you become successful. The quicker you have better marriage. The quicker you have more friends. The quicker you can get a secure, better partner. The quicker you have better relationship with your mother, father, sister, son, daughter, uncle, whatever. When you have the highest level of accountability and everything is about you taking responsibility for yourself first and allowing everything else to follow from that, you're now the controller of your destiny and everything will improve. But until you start to adopt those good habits and take full responsibility for every crevice, every nuance, and everything of your personal being, you're just always gonna be like a fucking leaf in the wind, dude. You're just gonna be like a fish in the ocean. They get carried around by currents, they're driven by their natural desires. I'm a captain, I'm on a fucking ship. It might be a storm, but I'm getting to where I need to go. Because I made the choice. I chose to become this person and create this captainship. And I'll be damned if somebody's gonna take that from me. I'll be damned if I let the world push me around. I'm gonna go through life storms because I'm skilled enough. And people just need to become more skilled. If you're physically capable, if you're intelligent, if you understand how money works, and you're positive, it's only a matter of time before you have success. You have friends, you have good partners. Really. And if you're not materialistic and you have a good set of values, you could pretty much repel bad people from you. Like, we live in Miami. Let's talk about dating. We live in Miami. We got like some of the shallowest people in the world. But I would also say we have some of the most caring, philanthropic people in the world too.
That's what I said, man, at the beginning. You're a real person, and it struck me because I don't see a lot of those around, you know.
Yeah.
So there's definitely like the other side,
yeah.
but there's definitely this side as well. Like
Yeah,
people with
yeah.
values, like family, traditional, you know.
We have so many good people. The problem is that good people, they just go about their lives quietly helping people. And when they help somebody, they don't fucking take a picture of it and put it on Instagram and scream about it to the world. They just do something nice. They just live a good life and they go about it quietly. The problem is that we have all these fucking individuals that the second that they give somebody $1 on the street, they want to film it and they want to take credit for it. And then at the end of the day, they go home and they're a shitty little person. And they spread nothing but negativity and they're misers. And that's the problem. It's like, brother, take care of your mind, take care of your family, and don't worry about it. Just live a good life. It's not it's not a complex thing. But, I mean, man, I think keeping it real is down to just pure humility.
Having a vision and just going
No, that's beyond. That's self-transcendence. That's you being able to live in your higher state. I think just being real is you being fine with who the fuck you are. And people need to be more fine with who the fuck they are. But they also need to not be fine with who they are if they haven't worked on it. If you work out every day, but you're still a fatty, keep at it. It'll happen. Don't judge yourself for being fat now. Just keep working out. Don't stop working out because you're still fat. Keep fucking working out. You know? But if you're fucking working out and you're fat, if you're not working out and you're fat and you're like, I don't know why I'm fat, you're just, please. Really? You know? So, I think people who try to help themselves are the ones that they're the ones who are the real ones. Because they realize, like, hey, I have shortcomings, but I'm trying. Mm-hmm. And that's how I live my life. I have shortcomings, but I'm trying. Just like I told you, with all the opinions I express, I could be so full of shit. I could be so mean. I could be so insensitive. But at the end of the day, I'm a human being, and I'm just doing my freaking best.
You're just being you, man.
And we're just doing our best, bro. We're all just trying to live a good life, bro. And people are so caught up in everything around them. So to go back to the conversation of being real, it's being true to yourself, being humble enough to work on yourself, and looking at those areas of your life where maybe you've kind of just swept it under the rug and just addressing those things. And being okay with where the fucking chips fall. I might never be a multi-millionaire and I'll be fine with that. But I'll be financially well off forever. And I'll be happy forever. And I'll be healthy as long as I can control.
Because that's a decision.
Because these are decisions I make. It's things I can control. And I just focus on what I can control and let the rest fall lie where it falls.
So, man, how do you help your clients that are going through like these obstacles and challenges? What's the process? I mean, it's a general question. Obviously, everyone has their own thing going on, but
I'd say it's different strokes for different folks always. But I think what'll happen is I'll show up every day with a positive attitude, positive mindset, and a high level of expertise to teach you how to move, inspire to move, give you a solid program so that you can understand what properly structured exercise looks like. And then I just show up every day and I make you do it. And I show up every day and I make you do it. And I show up every day and I make you do it. And you talk to me about your life and I give you ideas. And you talk to me about this and I give you ideas. And so it's really more like life coaching than anything, because I just show up. And as long as I show up, they go. And with enough go, they start to adopt the habits. And on top of that, I'm pretty strict. I set a standard. And so if people are talking about themselves or are making excuses, I'm not one to pussyfoot. I call everybody out, all their shit. I hold everybody to a standard. I have a client who complains to me about how she's not happy with her body. And she's always telling me the same shit. She's like, oh no, I don't eat bad, but I don't eat great. And I said, you've been telling me that for years. That's why you look how you look. You know, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I have fucking 6-pack abs and I wonder why. It's because I do the work. You know what I'm saying? Like you could do it. You could have it too. I know women who are 40, they're, you know, moms, have 2 kids that look fantastic.
Yeah.
It's not because you had 2 kids. It's not because you're a mom. It's not. No. It's personal decisions. Every day you make a choice. Where do you want to put your energy? Where do you want to put your future? You're going somewhere. Where are you going? Choose every day that direction. You know.
Why do you think for some people it's so hard to stick to like a routine, to have discipline, to overcome those like temptations?
They don't have big enough reasons. They don't care enough. They don't have a big enough reason. You get cancer today, you're probably going to change your life. You know what I'm saying? Your daughter dies today, you're going to change your life. You know, like big tragic things cause change. And the problem is most people, you can change one of 2 ways. You can change through inspiration or you can change through desperation. The problem is most people wait till they get desperate to change. They don't get inspired. So I choose to live inspired. And that's what I try to do for others. And so I think, you know, in terms of why people choose to not work out and not eat well is because they are, 1, unable to consistently do the good actions, or 2, and this is probably the reason why they can't do the good actions, is that they have some emotional, psychological, or chemical imbalance or problem that's manifesting itself in their eating habits, drug and alcohol, sleep habits, poor exercise, whatever their vices are. And that's the reason why they can't improve themselves, because we've all heard eat more protein, eat less carbs, walk, you know, do the extra steps, lift weights. Like, there's YouTube videos showing you how to.
I mean, everyone has access to the information, but
everyone has access.
not everyone is putting that in practice. And I mean, to me, so
No,
like
no.
how hard it is to understand that if you're eating processed food, that's fucking bad for you. How hard is that? And for some people, it's super hard to understand.
Well, culturally, some people aren't being exposed to the right messages. They're just being exposed to like mainstream media, like sugar, like TV. If you're just watching TV, if you're if you know, minorities and lower income class, they tend to, you know, they watch more TV, play more video games, are exposed to more mass media, and mass media's got tons of like big companies that spends millions and billions of dollars a year marketing their terrible products so that we eat them, and then they make them hyper addictive and hyper palatable so that people.
Yeah, but we know that McDonald's is bad. Like, why people still go there, right? I mean, I know it's a tricky question.
Because it's convenient and it's easy, and it's also hyper addicting because there's sugar in everything, and so it's like cocaine to the brain. It's like you can cope with your emotions many different ways. You can exercise, you can do drugs, you can do alcohol, you can go for a walk, you can eat food, sugary stuff, and just people are choosing the wrong distractions. You know, I think there's a book called Positive Distractions. That's about kids. But I think we need more positive distractions. What happened is that people choose a lot of negative distractions, right? They can't deal with the stress of life, and so instead they're gonna go get trashed, and you know, et cetera, right? Like, having trouble dealing with life, why don't we practice some breath work? It's a good distraction. You know, why don't we take 20 minutes to go do some yoga? I don't like yoga, but the breath work is what I like. Why don't we take why don't we take time to go walk 20 minutes? Why don't we go do some yoga? Not yoga. Go to the gym, go do some weights, go do some exercise. Right? Like, we're not getting enough good distractions in there. People are filled with negative distractions and allowing themselves to get caught up in the negative feedback loop. Because if you start drinking, Well, a lot of people who drink smoke cigarettes, and a lot of people who smoke cigarettes do cocaine, and a lot of people who do cocaine also do a bunch of other drugs, and then it becomes like a spiral of like you started trying shit and then delving into shit, and you keep finding all these different levels of ways to mess with your brain instead of doing positive habits. And even I struggle with this at times with bad habits. We have to be able to like address and realize like when we're slipping and what direction we're going and stop it, and then shift it to a positive direction. And I just think we need more positive distractions. If people can get themselves positive habits instead of negative habits, they will lose weight, they'll make more money, they'll get rid of toxic people in their lives. It'll be transformative. But it's all about having the right input. And most people aren't listening to this. They're watching sports, they're watching TV, they're eating shit.
I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, man, it's like instant gratification versus like long-term gratification. Because instant, you got social media, you got going out and drinking, you got like sex, you got porn and all of that. And it's always, that's always boosting your system. Whether like sticking to a healthy routine, sometimes it's boring because like going to the gym, eating healthy, going to sleep early, drinking water. Not a lot of people can stick to that because it doesn't give that boost to your system, and people are always used to getting that
I think if
instant
yeah, I think if people could just get over the initial voice in their head.
dopamine.
Yeah, but if people could get over that initial voice in their head, like that first voice, they'll be able to do whatever they want. Because it's always that first voice that lies to you. Oh, you can't do that. You can't do that. That first voice, right? No. It's gonna be hard. People are gonna think about you. People are gonna laugh at you. You've never been in the gym. You're not healthy. You're overweight. You're chunky. We operate on all these like subconscious beliefs, and they run our lives. So it's like changing those beliefs. Just that first voice. No, fuck that. I'm gonna set the tone. And then that leads me to that's a really good point, actually. That's a really good point you made. If we could train that first voice, which is what my parents did for me, is where the first voice in my head is, fuck yeah, you can do that. Why not? Oh, that chick, the hot chick in the corner that nobody's talking to because she's too smoking? She looking at you. Yeah, no, she just looked at you. She smiled. Go say hi. Like, my shit's always like that. I'm always like, I can do whatever I want. I can do anything. I'm unstoppable. That's my first voice. Too many people, that first voice is, no, you can't. No, you're not good enough.
So you're thanking your parents for having that.
They gave me a good foundation, and then I really fucking rocked it, dude. I mean, I go hard in this shit. Like, I'm listening to positive messages, and I only surround myself with positive people, and I take negative people and kick them so far out of my life it's not even funny. And I'm sure you've even seen me in conversations. I stop, I'm like, oh, I don't take that shit. I'm not like that's. I create my life. Everything is through my own creation. So, at the end of the day, it's what I want. I'm not letting nobody in my life. No one's gonna to set me off keel. It can be a tragic thing, and I'm gonna shrug it off, and we're gonna keep moving.
So how do you keep yourself? And I like this, man. I wanted to elaborate a little bit more. How do you keep yourself in this bubble? Like, how do you keep like the external influences to not like influence you, such as I don't know, like naysayers or people that give you like bad feedbacks, or like you watch the news and you hear something negative and you get affected. How do you protect yourself?
So there's different parts to that, right? I would say, let's separate like the external influences of like of media and stuff to like just kind of talking about like how we don't let naysayers affect us, right? Because the way I think is that anytime a naysayer or a negative person, like, you know what? In fact, Maddie, I pray that somebody comes on my Instagram every day and says some negative dumb shit. You know why? Because I fucking use that as fire, my brother. There's been times where people have said things to me, and I've just taken that, and for 18 months, I've just said it to myself every day, repeated it, and I was like, so I let the naysayers get to me. Sometimes it sucks, because sometimes you feel like hurt by sometimes the shit that they say, but that's only because there's truth to it. And then you just go, all right, motherfucker, game on. And you just take it as it comes. But now when it comes to influence of like the world and politics, I think the most important thing is to be able to make your own decisions. And I start with no. To anybody, I start with no. You say, oh, you're a politician. You're a fucking liar. Don't care. You're human. Fuck politics. You're human. You're self-interested. Whoa, shut the fuck up. Stop bullshitting me. Stop. All right, now give me your argument. You know what I'm saying? And I'll hear you out. But if you're full of shit, I don't pay attention to it. Either one or the other. If I think there's some relevance, I'll consider it. But that's how I deal with the outside world. stories, headlines, just like that. Process full of shit, I want to hear. Kind of relevant, I'll think about it. People's
So
advice.
you have like a very like active filter in your system that filters out
Yeah, I think
everything that you.
I think
that
I've been
gets-
I've been busting my ass learning the rules of the universe,
Mm-hmm.
the laws of attraction, manifestation. I've been learning all this shit for
Do
10
you,
years.
you believe in that?
Oh yeah, it is. No, there's no believing in that. It's real. I mean, you could choose to believe in it, same as you could choose to fucking believe in gravity. Bitch, go jump off a building and see what happens. You know, like that shit is real, dog. You know what I'm saying? So, but I've been learning about this and I've been studying it and I've been applying it for 10 years. So like I'm at a point where I'm like I'm only just gonna get better, but I'm solid as fuck. You can say whatever you want. You could tell me the sky is purple. I'll look at you and be like, yeah, sure, whatever you want. I know that motherfucker's blue. I've looked up and seen it myself. That's how I look at everything. You ain't gonna change me. You ain't gonna change my opinion today. You might be able to change it tomorrow, but you ain't gonna change it today. So tell me what your argument. But understand you're not changing my opinion today. You understand what I'm saying?
I mean, man, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if what you believe in it's right or wrong. If you believe in it, for you it's true.
100%.
And that's all it matters.
100%.
Right?
Yeah,
It's
just
like, hey, I'm
schizophrenia.
gonna become the U.S. president. I was like, man, that's impossible because you don't have the skills and this and that. But if you believe in that and you like fully dedicate yourself to it, who's gonna?
Yeah, it's important to draw the line between delusion and a dream, right?
Yeah,
but
yeah.
but
But you
granted,
get the point.
Granted, like if you were born in the United States, you have a high level of education, you're involved in politics, and you have the desire to be president, well, maybe me. I could not be president. I could not be president, my friend.
That was the wrong example.
You know,
right?
but
Yeah,
you
I
know
get
what I'm
it.
saying? Like I think it's important to draw the line between delusion and goals. And it's important to just take goals. I think the 5% rule is important. Stretch 5% beyond where you are right now. Every day. 5%. Every day stretch that extra 5%. Because like I said, as it grows, as you go to that extra percent, you fucking let's say you're stretching that 5%, you only make it 1. But now you're an extra 1%. And then you just every day you stack that shit and you just live in that stretching zone, that stretch zone that's just above what you can be. And then all of a sudden you wake up one day and you're a fucking gangster and you're running an empire and you're like, whoa, I knew it.
Let me ask you this, man, and then we're gonna start like wrapping up. Health. What are, let's say, like your main points of like what do you believe is health? What makes a life healthy? Is it like nutrition? Is it like exercise? Is it like doing like certain activities? What are the main points for you in like for a healthy living?
I think action is the main thing, right? Action, and what I mean by that is eat the healthy foods, right? Which defining that is make sure you have a ratio of about 40 to 60% of your overall diet is protein, and only 40 to 60% is carbohydrates. Too many people live in 30% protein and 70% carbohydrates, or even worse, and that's why we have a hyper obese, hyper diabetic society because no protein, so no muscle being built. And tons of carbohydrates, so their body's going to basically try to process as much as sugar as it can, and when it can no longer process any more sugar, it will store what's left over as fat. And then we do this over and over again over years, and we become a soft, low-muscled human being, right? So the idea is you need to eat your protein, right? An easy recommendation is 0.8 to 1 gram of protein. So if you weigh 180 pounds, eat anywhere from 130 to 180 grams of protein. Simple.
Got it.
Right? And then carbohydrates and fats, calculate your calories, take, whatever your protein is in calories out of that number, and you can fucking eat whatever amount of carbohydrates and fat. They could be cookies. I don't give a shit. If you eat cookies and a steak, you're going to be jacked. I'm telling you. People think I'm lying. Oh, you can't eat cookies. I go, yeah, if you eat cookies and a steak. The problem is that you eat cookies and a pastry, mac and cheese, and you put a little bit of steak in the mac and cheese, and you're like, oh, look, I ate protein. I'm like, no, you're full of shit. You should eat a steak with a little bit of mac and cheese and a cookie, and you're still going to get jacked. You're probably going to be fat because there's a little too much carbs, but, and so that's nutrition in a nutshell. Another super key important thing is hydration. People don't drink enough water. I think you should be drinking and pissing, like all day. Like,
When you say hydration, you mean water. It's not like Gatorade. It's
no,
not,
I mean electrolytes are important. I supplement electrolytes when I need them. I don't think everybody needs to be electrolytes, and I don't think anybody needs to be drinking out of glass jugs and avoiding microplastics like crazy. I mean, obviously try to avoid microplastics as much as possible. Try not to drink out of plastic bottles. Try to use reusable. But that's environmental. That's common sense. I mean, it's just basic, right? And use electrolytes as needed. They have tons of products on the market. They're expensive as shit, so you can just use a little Himalayan salt or whatever salt you want,
Okay.
and that's enough. Supplementation, super simple. I don't really recommend any supplements. I recommend a daily multivitamin, and I like to use nootropics. Just things for your brain, immune boosters, stress reducers, things like that. I don't take any proteins, any creatines.
You don't take the protein powders?
No, I mean protein powders are fine if you want to like supplement your protein, but it's not it's a supplementation. It's not a replacement, you know. And in terms of creatine, there's nothing wrong with it. You could drink it. I just don't because I don't choose to. There's nothing wrong with the product. Any of them usually are pretty good. Yeah, so you get your hydration, you're eating well, and then it just goes down to like, you know, are you moving? Are you exercising? You know, you don't have to lift weights every day. But I think the best bang for your buck exercise is going to be lifting weights because it's going to increase muscle mass, going to increase bone density. It's going to give you range of motion, mobility later, you know, deep into your old age, increase ligaments and tendons. And, you know, so I just think your best bang for your buck is going to be to lift weights. And a lot of people don't know how to do that. And, you know, there's tons of ways of learning. YouTube, bodybuilding.com, hire a personal trainer, go join a group gym.
Call you.
Yeah, you can call me. I mean, I don't really have any space in my book, but I think really just people need to learn. And people need to take it seriously that they need to be getting strong and maintaining strength and doing something every day. You know, like we were made to move. Like we didn't have the comfort 200 years ago to just sit around in AC,
Watching TV and
eating Uber Eats, right? We were designed to walk, to run, to throw, to lift things, put them down, to pull care. You know, like we were designed to work and move. And we definitely weren't designed to eat this hyper-processed diet that's going on. So, you know, I think if people could just stay away from processed foods, if it can go from raw to cooked to eat, solid. You know, but if it can sit on a shelf for 6 months at a time and it's a main course, you're probably eating shit food. You know?
Wow, man. Awesome. Bro, we're going to wrap up. Is there anything that you want to say? You got completely like full freedom to say whatever you want, and also like how can people find you, like if you want to share your social media and all of that. I give you like full freedom.
Cool. Yeah, so really, I mean, I'm not crazy into the social media thing. I post stuff for fun. Usually I just post a lot of thirst traps on Instagram, so if you're a hot chick and you want to see some thirst traps, come follow me. No, I'm just kidding. I also post fitness content and stuff too, but yeah, my personal Instagram page is The Young Fit Guru, so at The Young Fit Guru on Instagram, or I also started a YouTube page, The Young Fit Guru as well. If you want to follow my business page, it's Body by Cody Miami. Really, if I do put out any content, it's motivational, inspirational, happy, talking about family, talking about masculinity, talking about exercise, nutrition, something like that. But I think if I could leave anybody, like your viewers, with a message, it would be to really take responsibility for your life and to look at the areas of your life that you've been avoiding and to, you know, be the light that casts a shadow. Don't be the shadow that hides, right? Turn light on your dark parts of your life and light them up. Change what needs to be changed. Be a positive force in the world. Serve others. Take care of yourself. Manage your vices. Try not to drink too much. Try not to engage in too many bad things. We're human, so we falter. Don't feel bad for having sex or wanting to drink or want a vacation or you know, not wanting to spend all your time with your kids. Life is fucking hard, bro. Be nice to yourself. Take responsibility for yourself. And remember that leaders lead from the front. We don't just show the way, we go the way. My brother.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank you.